Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to a DLC conversation about Abselum. So, look, if you've been a longtime fan of the channel, I usually do these things. They are called 5 Things videos, and I just list 5 things that I want to either see put into a game or fixed in a game that I really like that has just come out or just recently come out, or has just recently received DLC, something along those lines. That being said, let me just fix my camera slightly. That being said, I don't really have notes about this game. I don't really think there's just 5 things that should be added. This game is my game of the year, without a doubt. So I would rather have some fun, speculative conversation about this game. And I figured the best way to do that, I've just got some footage that I recorded of me playing in the background, just so that it's not just my ugly mug talking the entire time. But yeah, we're just going to have a conversation about the kind of DLC that I'd like to see from Abselum, that I think is more possible for them to do from Abselum. We'll have to see. So I'm not going to go into what Absolum is. I have a review on the channel for Absolum. You're also seeing it playing in the background. But if you want to know my thoughts on Absolum, the long and the short of it is, it's the best game I've ever played and possibly ever made, in my opinion. But if you want to see more extended thoughts, you can check out the review on our channel or reviews anywhere. Now, recently, the developer of this game, .mu and Guard Crush put up a little note that said that they are working on future story content, which I actually think they said is going to be free, which is very interesting to me. And on top of that, they're going to be basically supporting this game for months/years. Now, I want to say this right now. I think this game's amazing. If this game never got any content whatsoever, it is well worth the $20 price, the slightly above $20 price tag that it's at. In my opinion, I would have paid easily $40 for this and been just as happy. I'm 95% global completion rate right now. I haven't quite finished the whole thing, but I feel like I'm close enough that I can make a video like this. I've completed a lot of the side quests, and this game just keeps calling me back to the point where there are other things that I should be doing, and I'm not doing them because I have to play this game more. So, with DLC for these companies and a game type like this, the 2D kind of hand-drawn brawler, I want to just take a second to kind of look at other DLCs from these companies. You've got .mu has done Streets of Rage 4, and .mu also produced TMNT Streets Shredder's Revenge. However, that's tribute games. They're working on Marvel Cosmic Clash, but I think that we can at least kind of look at how these companies like to release DLC. Now, this is all hand-drawn. You're seeing it on your screen. All the sprites are hand-drawn. I am pretty sure, I'm not 100% positive, I'm pretty sure that takes a really long time, that's really in-depth, that's really involved. So, like, if you notice in Streets of Rage 4, we got a survivor mode, and we also got 2 actual hand-drawn added characters, Shiva and, oh man, I can't remember my girl's name, the only cop I've ever liked, added to the game. These, as well as Max, all 3 of these characters were bosses in the game itself. So they weren't drawing new sprites, they were taking sprites from the game they have, because I believe personally that it's actually easier than hand drawing sprites from scratch. So with that said, I want to kind of look at that whole thing. I think for Streets of Rage 4, survival mode really worked, and the characters that we got to play were great, but there weren't any original characters coming out, right? And this game is different. Like, this is a roguelite, and it is extremely well done as a roguelite. However, all the progression in this game is tied together. So, like, as you play through and you level up your overall game, you unlock abilities for all 4 of the characters. You unlock all the rituals for all of the 4 characters, to the point where you're going to have everything unlocked by the time they come out, especially if you're a crazy person like I am, who has to have this 100% before it comes out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think just doing straight characters into the game itself is not necessarily the way I'd like to see it go. And don't get me wrong, any additional content to this game I will play, and I will do so with a smile on my face. I'm not trying to be critical at all. But that being said, it's not as simple as just putting a character in a new move set in a game, because this game is very much about the progression and the feel of the progression as you go through it. And if you get these characters and they're already progressed to the fullest, really you're going to play through the game once and then you're going to be done. There's not going to be a whole lot new to do. So I think, hear me out, I have a couple of things that I think they should do with the DLC. And I know it's way off base, it's just speculation. And again, anything they add to this game, I'm going to be happy with, because they could add nothing and this game will still be my game of the year. I love this game. It is a game that I've probably been waiting for 44 years of life. Like, it just hits everything. And I will also say this, it definitely leaves you wanting more. So what do I think they should do? Well, I also want to be sensitive to the developers' needs. That hand-drawing brand new sprites is pretty hard, pretty tough. So what I think they could do to use the assets they have, but make it go further, give us new stuff to play, is this. I think that they should do 2 content packs. I think those content packs, the first one should actually be a prequel to this game. Hear me out. So we know from the storyline, oh, wait, stop, spoilers. Spoilers for the game's plot. If you don't want to know any of the game's plot, stop watching this video, come back to it when you've at least kind of beaten the main boss a couple of times, okay? We know that the Cataclysm happened. It destroyed Yeldrin. When it destroyed Yeldrin, Azra was able to take over and kind of claim the world as his own. But through that, he led this kind of crusade against the Root Sisters, which is who you're working for in the main game. What if we do this really interesting thing where we take our characters, we do a prequel where the Cataclysm has just happened, and our characters are characters who are already in the game, bad guys that our heroes fight, who have to go claim the Root Sisters. You could actually have the game work slightly backwards from Asterios to the Sanctuary. You could have all of the same maps still there and whatnot, but if you're playing that mode, probably some of the enemy typing and bad guy typing is different. But on a whole, it won't be, because all of those areas are still populated by the same creatures, races, species, all of that stuff. So you could still have basically the same game, just doing it in reverse. The only things you'd have to change are the bosses, and you would have to change the order, and of course add those 4 new characters. For Azra's, for this whole prequel, I think it would be really interesting right off bat to add one, if not both, of the Lizard King's sisters. There are these 2 sisters that have a whole through arc storyline for the Lizard King on that. Ambis and Tide, one has a rapier, one has these like 2 kind of like chakrams, and they would be really cool to be in. They're perfectly sized sprites. You could just add some more movesets to them and send them into the game. You could get some interesting stuff like the character we're seeing right now on the screen, Rudolph. He's a little bit he's a little bit big. He's a little bit big. The only thing about using completely used sprite bosses is because most of the bosses stand bigger than your characters do, but it would be kind of cool to have a big badass boss in it. What I would rather see though is you fill out those other 2 characters with normal bad guy sprites, because I'm gonna tell you, some of the normal bad guy sprites in this are really cool. I think the lizard people, awesome sprites, love to see them in it. You could even have like one of the Crimson Order sprites, like a straight Crimson Order knight. I think all of those hand drawn kind of like arts are really cool. I think this is one of the few games where like I think some of the bad guy, just the straight bad guy art, is better than some of the main character art. I think that the art here is all the way through. You could literally pull a goblin, would be cool. You could even have the one that trains you, that one goblin, well, I can't remember her name right now, I don't know, but you could have her in there. You could even have a version of the Underking that hasn't already become like hyper corrupt and undead. I think there's a lot of things you could do with that would be really, really fun and interesting. And again, you're using, for the most part, you're using 90% of the assets are going to come from stuff that's already in the game that you've already seen. So moving on to my other idea. My other idea is basically kind of the same thing. You do a sequel inside of Abselum. Now, Abselum itself is kind of its own sequel. Considering the fact that the name of the game, Absolum, you don't even know what that is until you've kind of beaten the game the first time. And that's standard fare for a lot of roguelites. But the end game here is very rich and robust. It's going to have you going through a bunch of times. But I think that, like, we're just, like, after everything happens at the end, we've got this, like, war-torn kind of, these 4 islands, these 4 lands are, like, war-torn, and destroyed. The Crimson Order's fallen. The Root Sisters are still a wreck. So I think what we would really do is double down on some of, because some of the side quests already do this, like Carl's side quest to kind of rebuild his people. I'm not going to spoil that any more than that. Stuff like that, like rebuilding, I think could be a really cool way to add some interesting stuff to this. And you could also add some cool characters to this aspect of this mode. I know a lot of people would probably want to see I can never remember anybody's name. I think it's Zalafir, the Bandit Queen, as a playable character. I don't want to see it. I think she works really cool as this really awesome enigmatic character that you have to talk to a bunch of times, and you have to get her to kind of like as a heavy to kind of help you later, and then even you're at odds with her sometimes. I think that's a really cool storyline, and I think it would kind of take away from it a little bit if you're fighting her with her. I think more realistically, I'd love to see the Maulai Sanctuary woman. Cannot remember her name. Terrible with names today. The kind of like one that helps Brome find the children and all that. Kind of runs the sanctuary. Would be a really cool add to this kind of internal sequel thing. I think you could also do some interesting, just like side nothing characters, like maybe a goblin. And the point of this storyline would be they're trying to rebuild the nation. So you're kind of going to each of the islands. You would have to add new bosses for everything, and new kind of like chains of how things kind of broke down. But you'd be going to these islands and these places and trying to bring peace to them, trying to get them to maybe agree to the peace, kind of maybe want to follow the Root Sisters or build their own society, kind of help all of these different cultures in their own way rebuild after the cataclysm and after Azra's rule. I think that would be really cool. And again, you're reusing the assets you already have in the game. So you don't have to draw anything new. You don't have to do any more like really awesome pictures. You just reuse the assets that you have, because there are so many great assets in this game. Just absolutely amazing stuff in here. So, and I think that's it. That's what I'd like to see personally from Abselum. Instead of just like a character dump or something else. I think it would be really creative to do that. You'd get content without necessarily getting content, and I think that is a really cool idea. One thing I will say I don't really want to see in this is a survival mode. I think most of the 2D brawlers love to do the survival mode as their first DLC. Streets of Rage 4, TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, Double Dragon Gaiden, they all had this like wave-based, like take out all the bad guys, get further sort of thing. I don't think it works for this game. I think that this game is great in its current, the way it's played, and if we're going to add modes, I think the strongest thing about this game, as great as everything is about it, I think the strongest thing about this game is its narrative and its lore and its world building. I want to see more of that. I want them to give me more of that. I want them to give me reasons to go find more of that. And like, that's why I want the newer modes, if you will, to kind of like emulate that. You know, kind of give us more stuff, more story, more world building. That's my thoughts on it. I don't know. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You can tell me in the comments below. You can also reach us on Discord. Links in the description below. And then, man, I hope you guys are enjoying Absolum as much as I am. It's It's possibly the greatest game I've ever played. I really love this game. In fact, the minute I'm done doing this video, I'm going to go back to play it. So as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I will keep making it. And Absolum devs, on the offhand, that you decide to watch a video from a small channel with only 623 viewers, I just want to say personally thank you. This game is amazing. You like really like, this is a bucket list game for me. So, yeah. See you guys next time.